I just wanted to comment, like, the infrastructure improvements to the pool and, a few other places, like, the money that we were setting, for the shop, are not coming out of property taxes. That will be subsidized, or money transferred from sales tax, which is funded by or from our infrastructure fund that's funded by sales tax. So nothing in this budget for infrastructure is coming from property taxes. That's all generated from sales tax. So that does not affect the levy.
Okay, yep.
Just one other comment, and then nobody's asking me any questions, so I'm finding a place to come.
Everybody's
Except Mr. Lennox.
satisfied.
The police department, a year ago, we added an officer to our department, which cost us probably in the $50,000 range per year. And I talked to the city of Harvey a week ago. Harvey is a community of 1,800, we're a community of about 2,900. They added a fourth officer in their community of 1,800. Public safety is huge to me. It's huge to the residents of the city, and we expect 24-hour, 7-day-a-week police protection. As a budget committee, we also expect that the police department use the overtime very prudently. Overtime is a red flag in all the departments, and we think the police department can do better in organizing their time to minimize overtime.
You're welcome to come and see what we do and see the records.
I think this is an issue we bring up at committee. This isn't the
As a
budget
finance
item right
committee,
now.
we're looking at the cost of running the operation.
Terry?
I have a budget question. Under police department, account number 650, capital outlay machinery, $8,500. Can you tell me if that's right?
The 85, about 2 or 3 years ago, we talked about getting these electronic speed signs that you put up when your speed is.
Digital readout.
It's a digital readout that tells you. Chief Rose at the time said it's going to help remind the traffic to at least slow down. And we haven't purchased them yet. It's in the budget for that.
That is in the budget this year?
It's in this budget,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
You know, I get that question.
Mr. Zachfire, you have a question, comment?
I got a few comments, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Listening to the budget, and then I hope and pray the council listens very closely. With Public Works, in March, I had a water main break under my house. They were there within 7 minutes. In July, we had flooding in town. Rick and Radomski walked through the flooded water to fix the gate, or the manhole cover that blew off, which was a traffic hazard, which somebody could have got killed in. We had Easter, where they had to work on Easter, that nobody really knew about, to fix a pump station. We had Christmas, where a water main broke, where they had to drive all the way to Fargo, I believe, to grab the part in the middle of the night. We have the police department, who just recovered multiple stolen guns that could have hurt somebody in this city, cleared 15 burglaries plus, put in 24 hours straight without sleep. So we bring up the overtime, and we bring up our city employees. The city employees, including the auditor, including Candy, including Public Works, are the core to this city. You talk about cutting services. We need to keep these employees. And I know that there's complaints, and they talk about bad behavior. It's over and done with. Our employees deserve more than a 2% raise. And then they say the 35 cents on an anniversary date, so that affects a person hired in November, December doesn't get the same raise as somebody hired in January, February. This is a very small token to the service of, small token by the city council, and we as the public, including myself, including probably a lot of the people that are in here, would support a 5% raise, a 4% raise, but at least a 275 or the 75% raise, not to go all the way to their anniversary date, because it's not fair to the other employees. So I really hope you guys consider that and add it to the budget. It can be argued another time. These employees are important. And we also heard tonight, and I'm going to talk because it had nothing to do with budgeting, but it seems like the council, the budget committee, tries to defend their budget and defend it. We support the budget, quit defending it. We had stuff come up that shouldn't have came up again. How many times our employees got to put up with this BS over and over again? The street sweepers only got to go around 3 times. Give me a break. That's the least of our problem. Sometimes it's better just to keep our mouths shut instead of putting our employees down. And I support the budget. I support putting money towards public works. I support our police department because they keep us safe. I support our auditor to keep the money in line. I support Candy when I got to go use the armory and I can talk to her. I support the city council's elected officials to do the right thing. And I would really look at this budget very closely before you approve it in the condition it's in. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. We'll put that into the discussion before final,
Thank you,
as things to consider. One of the reasons, I believe, and I wasn't at all of the finance meetings, I think one of the reasons they looked at the compensation package is a carryover from last year. If you recall last year's budget discussions, a lot of the turmoil developed out of a sizable increase last year. And I'm making an assumption that with the considerable increase in compensation packages last year is probably why we are the suggested amount we are this year. But we will take that into consideration, Craig, before the final budget is approved.
Thank you.
But remember, this is just a preliminary budget we're working on here tonight. Any other comments or discussion before the vote? Mr. Day?
Yes, I heard something said about the swimming pool. We could shut it down and use the Winds Canal.
We will put that to thought. Dwayne?
Mr. Mayor, you know, about 6 weeks ago, I brought a letter over here asking you to look at paying for rent out there for the police. We, you know, you haven't paid any rent since 2009, and that's 6 years. So we really feel that you should consider putting that into your budget. It's about $14,200 is what we asked. I think, Liz, you did get that letter, right, Liz?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I think you should consider that, really.
Okay. I think that was addressed briefly with the request was made. We're well aware of the request. I think the comment, we are looking at the numbers of the LEC financially need that $1,200. You know, the city is contributing considerable now. We're contributing far more than 26.4. We're also contributing roughly 30% of that budget. And I believe mill levies, they kept at 10. County mill levy generates $27,000 plus or minus a few dollars. And if we're paying 30% of that, we are already, the city residents are paying $81,000 in the form of taxes, plus the 26.4 in what we pay on a monthly basis. So we're paying $107,000 a year now.
Where would you get rent-free?
And really, this has nothing to do with LEC. This is our county property. We're charging you, just like you own the armory, you're charging the
What are you
school, aren't
charging
you?
the other users out there?
They get charged.
I believe the
He
Highway
does.
Patrol,
BCI?
They get,
CCI pay rent.
Yep, yep.
And I
Everybody
think
pays rent but the city.
this is one of the things that the LEC committee, I believe Mr. Wentz is chairman, wants to see some additional numbers. And again, this is the preliminary budget. We are aware of the request, just as a request from Mr. Zachmeyer relative to increasing the salary. Kelsey?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to point out, you guys keep throwing this that you pay a certain percentage of the county tax. That is correct. That goes for every city in North Dakota. They also pay a county tax. So the city of Rugby is not any different than any other city. You are still subject to the county tax. You spoke how you justified adding a 5th officer. You don't think that adds also work for the dispatchers? Your numbers went up to justify having another officer. You still need somebody to answer that phone, answer that radio. And I believe you guys were given numbers 2012 that did support the increase between the county and the city, and it did show a ratio. Because I worked there then, and we.
I believe, Kelsey, right now, it was tabled because of the actual expenditures that the LEC paid. We have not seen them.
I appreciate that. I just want a clarification. If this is a preliminary budget hearing,
That's what it is.
nothing can be added, correct? So this is when we need to talk about adding this financial information to the budget. Once this is over, you can't throw numbers back in to make it correct. So I was just pointing out a few things now before it's too late. Respect to all of you guys and what you've done.
Mr. Mayor, you know that those three, or you got 3 offices out there, you know, we get nothing for it. 4? We get nothing for it, so I mean, we can get some money for that if you weren't there. So we believe that you should pay for,
What do you consider the 26-4 to be?
for
The 26.4 is for dispatching. The 1,200 a month for rent is for the use of the space out there that will go to the county's general. It does not go towards dispatching.
Mr. Lappet?
So Kelsey, you're telling us that we pay 30% to the LEC and 10%, that 80-some thousand doesn't go to cover the LEC expenses?
I'm not saying where it goes or where it doesn't
I
go.
just want you to
That
understand.
isn't my place. That's the auditors. They do the mills, they do the budget line items.
That one, a question that to Karen. Karen, does that 87,000 plus the dispatcher go to support the LEC?
If it's 81,000, I don't know if it's 81,000.
I know, we're close. Can we just go close, 30% at 270,000, 10 mills at 27,000 apiece? Would that be
The
close?
previous, I suppose,
That would be close, wouldn't it? Okay, so the LEC gets $270,000 to keep the office open out there. Is that correct? How does that office cost $270,000? We pay 80% of it, and the rest of the county, or 80,000, you pay the remainder. Why does that not cover the LEC? When I built the building, the LEC was the offices, the jail was the jail. Is it still that way?
The jail has nothing to do with.
The jail has nothing, thank you. Because most people think it's a jail.
No.
This is the LEC, just the office, including dispatch, is that correct? $270,000 a year to run the LEC?
And also pay for a prisoner fund.
Pay for prisoners, I thought the jail had nothing to do with that.
Well, the county has to pay for the
That
prisoners.
does not come out of your general fund like it does in the city?
No,
No,
there's
no.
a special levy for that, just
Okay.
for that purpose, but legislative has changed that now.
There was
So-
a special levy, Karen?
Yes, there was, but now it went away for 15.
But
So
what
now
did we-
everything's gotta come out of the county's general fund,
What did we do for all the years before? Were you paying for prisoners out of that before?
out of the LEC.
Out of the LEC, no wonder it's broke. We pay for ours out of the general fund.
That's because you do not have a jail.
Oh, we did have a jail.
When?
We gave it to you for $1.
No.
Was this not?
That jail was for
this not
sale.
a joint powers agreement when this was built? It was,
It
wasn't
was. But then it was for sale, right?
Then who got it?
And you didn't want to go in with
The
it.
JDA then got it, a political subdivision of the city,
You know,
correct?
we're not here to argue. Either you pay it or probably look for somewhere else.
Would you,
I mean, why should we come here and argue with you guys? Why?
Because you always say we don't pay our fair share.
You're not paying rent.
Do you want me to come and show you our fair share at one of your meetings? I can do it.
Good, go ahead.
I'd be happy to do it because we are paying our fair share in the city.
All the other counties use that levy for their boarding prisoners too. And I've contacted other cities and I've asked the cities, where do you take your prisoner expense? They said, we do not have a jail, it has to come out of our general fund. The legislators have changed that, so now the counties has to come out of there too. So the levy for the jail or dispatching no longer exists. It all is out of the general fund.
That's
That
too bad.
levy can only be used for construction.
Senate Bill 2144 changed that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so now you're losing money on the LEC. Are you losing money on the LEC? Yes or no?
Our costs keep going up.
Yes or no?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. Can you find out, you're chairman of that, and report back to us? Thank you.
The other comment made, was that definite? We don't pay the rent, we get kicked out?
Well, you guys don't even.
No, the question is,
Okay.
not the what is. You're telling the city council and those present that if we don't pay an extra $14,000, we're supposed to find a new home. Is
Well,
that
I
a
would-
definite?
I would think so,
No, I don't want to know, I think so, either yes or no.
yes.
Yes.
So we need to find a new home, John.
Okay.
That's what you're saying. Mr. Zachmeyer, I think you have something to say.
If I may, I'm probably the closest to the expert on this whole thing that's kind of looking in from the outside, guys. You'll see where I'm going with this. A few years ago, 5, 6 years ago, when that jail was in trouble, we had some serial killers come through Drake. That made national TV, they did multiple documentaries on this case. That case got somewhere with these serial killers because of that jail and that interview room, or because of the building and the interview room. So when the county and the JDA and the city kept that facility open, so you'll see where I'm going, kept the facility open, we're keeping the community safer because the facility's there, because we are solving a lot of crime because of that facility. Not only the Crime Bureau, the Highway Patrol, Rugby Police, and Pierce County. It's an unbelievable building for what we do. We have officers from across the state that use that building right now, that interview room, to put bad people in jail that abuse our kids. That could be, all of us could be victims of a crime. So it goes, okay? This has been an argument for years, and I think the city council is right. I think the county commission has a point, and I'll be really clear on this. If the city gets kicked out of that building, gentlemen, we got bigger problems than $14,000. That's the bottom line. If the city can get with the county and say, okay, you want to pay us rent, what's fair? We're not going to do $14,000 this year, but get something in the budget where you can do something in good faith. Class A or Type A personalities, I'm one of them. My way or the highway, and I see some in here. I understand the Class A personality. Before you do this, take a deep breath, because this is going to affect everybody in this room and everybody in this county and everybody in this region. So we have training room out there, we have interview room out there, we get the prisoners from the jail, and it will affect the city of Rugby not being in there. I think Neil has an excellent point. I mean, you're well prepared, but I also think, you know, the county did come in good faith, even though we got some Class A personalities. So take a deep breath before we make any rash decisions for the benefits of the city and this county, please.
Thank you, Craig.
And Matt, I mean, you used to pay $11.25, and that was paid up till 2009. A month.
Why was it taken off?
Well, we were doing all right at the time.
And that was my last question.
Yeah. And then, but how about when that prisoner jumped out? We were deficit.
Why
how
didn't
many
you
years,
give it
Mike?
to us
2
then?
years?
That's when you should have sent it to us, not when you're
Well,
profiting.
we were just.
You're putting $40,000 away into your general fund right now.
No, we're not.
No,
$400 last month.
$400 was last month.
no, it was 113 people in there in the paper that said you must be making something.
There's expenses.
Oh, yeah, that's why I don't know
And
if
even more.
170 doesn't cover that.
The prisoner issue that's in litigation now, big share of that's going to be your insurance rate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've
Both,
already-
both the payments and defense. And we know.
We know.
It's not coming out of general fund.
No, but we've already paid 157,000 towards
And
those.
that will be part of the
expenses.
insurance proceeds. Any other comments?
If you're paying it, or you were paying it up to 2009, why can't you be paying it now? What's changed that you can't start paying it again? And really, it should have continued to be being paid even when they were doing good, because everything's in a cycle, farming's in a cycle, trucking's in a cycle. Why didn't you just continue paying that even when they were doing good, and then we wouldn't be having this discussion now?
I think the events at the time, the county notified the city that they would no longer make that charge. They forgave that rent, that's what it was.
Okay, so now they have to propose
Now
that
they're
they
coming
want
back and they
rent.
want it back. And I think the question is now, Finance Committee wants to see the details of the LEC expenses down to the paper clips and pens. Do they really need it?
Well,
You're selling us tonight, it's not an LEC thing, it's a county jail rent that we're renting from the county, the
Office
facility.
space. Office
You're
space.
telling us it has nothing to do with LEC?
No, it's our billing, we're asking for it.
So one tax entity is requesting, the other tax entity will pay. It all comes, it's all out of the same bucket, it depends on whose pocket you're in. That's really where we're at.
but I agree with Craig that I think it's paramount that the Rugby Police is out there with the highway patrol and everyone else. They all work together. I've only been out there a few times to visit with Chief Rose over minuscule things. After I spent time out there, I thought, why am I even out here complaining about this? Because I was listening to other things going on. But they all work together. Craig was talking to Chief Rose, and that would be gone if they were separated. And I think that's worth a lot more than $14,000.
Good point. Good point, Randy, and that's why we have discussions.
I think there was some strong words said there that, you guys would get the boot right away, I mean, that'd be something we'd all have to agree on, and I think that.
Was this request done in motion form? And in the minutes?
It was
Recorded in the
discussed,
minutes?
I'd have to go back
I
and
don't
look at
think
the
it was
minutes.
a motion, was it?
It wasn't a motion, but it said to write the letter right after the meeting.
But if you, I suppose we could make a motion if you want that.
Well, I think it should be handled properly. I mean, you can do that over a cup of coffee, three guys get together, you got a forum, we're gonna write a letter and request more money. That's a simplistic approach, of course, but you probably should have go through the right process.
I think.
Did
I think it's a
all the
small
commissioners
amount,
vote for it?
even-
Was it unanimous vote?
Haggling over it.
We almost said yes.
They all
That's a
agreed.
question, well, they're all there, but did they all vote yes, or did some abstain? Any objections? Do we have that in,
But I think if you
I'll
look
look.
back at our agreement, it's upon commissioner's request that you guys will pay.
I know they disagree about it.
I can't comment on that, because I don't know.
Do you have that agreement?
I don't know, you guys probably even, we got it together.
Yeah, I mean, it was always an informal agreement of, basically if the place was making money, we weren't paying rent. That's what I thought. Nothing was ever in writing that I saw. And now you come back and want rent again.
I don't think it's a big deal.
I don't either.
I don't
The whole
think it
thing,
is.
what you guys gotta realize is that we're giving you $107,000 a year now. Where is that money going? It's not like we're not paying rent, guys. It's 80-some thousand plus we're paying a dispatcher. Where's that money going? That's the only question I got. And
The dispatcher costs more than $26,500.
I know, but apparently we have an agreement with one dispatcher. Is there a written agreement on one dispatcher?
You're not even paying for one.
Okay, where did that,
No,
where does,
We're paying $81,000 in the form of taxes. Don't forget that rugby is part of Pierce County.
you guys are forgetting that.
$107,000. Okay,
Gotta also remember too, and you guys don't like to hear it, 80% of the calls are city, 80% 911 are city. If it wasn't for the city, we wouldn't need that, to be on,
how old is that statistic? Is that this year's
it's probably
statistic
even higher.
with your deputy sheriff?
It come from discussion.
Maybe change it a little bit.
Come on, guys, we gotta break the ice.
We want to get back on point with the
Well, we're
budget.
not gonna argue.
This issue we've done for years.
As long as we know there's $107,000, you know,
Let's get back on board with the budget. Liz?
I just had a comment, like, if we are to put anything in the budget, we have to look, the preliminary has to be filed by the 10th, so it can't go up, it can only go down. So if we are going to put, or consider the rent, then we have to put it in the budget, you know, we can take it out, but we can't put it back in after the
Okay.
10th.
With that, is there a motion to increase the budget by $14,400 or whatever the number is in the preliminary budget to cover the county's request for rent? Is there a motion to that effect? Is there a motion for that effect?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Berg to include it in the preliminary budget. Is there a second to that motion?
Also.
Second by Kraft. Roll call vote. Terry? Okay.
Point of order. We're amending the original motion to approve. Are we
We're
making
gonna have,
an
we're gonna have a motion to
Amendments,
accept
an
and
amendment.
amend it to the tune of 14.4.
we have a motion.
We have a motion
We
by
have
Joel
to act on
to-
the amendments first, but
To approve.
is there any more discussion on the amendment, or are we ready to vote on the
Okay, is
motion?
there discussion on the request to add the $1,200 a month for rent to the county, not LEC, but to the county for building rental? It's not an LEC payment, it's a county payment. So we're taking tax money from the city and giving it to the county.
Why would we not just take out the radar deal if we decide to do this on a?
Remember, this is the preliminary budget, we cannot go up once we pass this.
We can cut the budget.
We can cut it any time up till final.
Yeah, well, we can take out the radar thing, we can take out the $10,000 for the swimming pool, I mean.
Well, that's infrastructure, that's not living.
No, say make it, so we can always take it out, we can't lock up
Okay.
So what is your motion saying now?
To include it in the budget, to include it in the preliminary budget.
included in the budget.
Okay, the motion has been made, so everybody understands, to add $1,200 a month as an expense to the county in the form of rent to the correction center facility. And it's not an LEC rent, correct? It's a building rent to the county.
Office rent?
Second, that was second. Motion made by Berg, second by Kraft. Any other discussion on that portion of adding to the proposed budget? Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Harry? Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Mr. Hopper?
No.
No? Gary?
Yes.
No.
Lockbit, no. Bruce?
Yes.
What did I call it? That'd be 7 to 5. The rent issue, so gentlemen, in your preliminary budget line, add 14.4. So our,
Goes up another 2.5
it's 2.5 million. Okay, any other discussion on the preliminary budget? Okay, we have a motion and second, have had that already, to approve. We'll vote on accepting the budget as preliminary budget as amended. Mr. Hoffman?
Just a comment or two about the wages, salaries. I know there was a comment from the audience. I guess the finance committee looked serious at it, and you did comment earlier that we had a pretty good raise last year. And our information, the best we have, was we're staying with inflation. We're not breaking the bank accounts of city taxpayers. And we're being fair.
Thank you. Last call on discussion on the preliminary budget.
I'll call for the question.
Call for questions been called for approval of the budget. Councilman Renault. Councilman Lockton.
Yes.
Councilman Kraft.
No.
No. Councilman Crawford.
Yes.
Councilman Byrd.
Yes.
Councilman Longy.
Yes.
Councilman Wentz. Okay. One no, others yes. All right, now we'll go back to the agenda. Okay, item 17. Oh, under item 16, Linda reminded me that item D, the appropriation ordinance number 397 for expenditures and making the annual tax levy. So we have to, first reading of ordinance 397, which you all have. That's a procedural thing. Is there a motion? Liz, help me.
Okay, this will be the, this is basically what's in the budget, all the expenses that are in the budget, but we had to redesignate funds because Senate Bill 2144, a lot of stuff had to be moved into the general fund. But this is an ordinance, for appropriation. Of course, this is the first reading, and, these numbers can change, you know, for the second reading, but, we can still make amendments to the ordinance. But this would be the first reading. If you want to glance it over.
So remember some months ago when we said we had, this 2144 was going to be an interesting year to make all the adjustments and changes. It is turning out to be an interesting year for the budget.